All right, we're back on What the Funk, mid-November recording with my guys over at Amplified Industries, Eric Zhang, Sebastian Manai. Sebastian, I really hope I said your last name correctly in that. It's not as hard to pronounce as
Hold
Charles.
on.
Did I get it?
Yeah, you were spot on. Nice job.
Thank you. Love this one. Amplified Industries is a recent Funk Futures client. We're seeing a lot of demand in the market for their software, their services. We'll get into all of that. My favorite part about working you guys is now when I fly back to Boston, I can expense those flights, which is great for me because now I have a client out there. But you guys you're rocking it, you're crushing it, and I'm excited for you guys to ham and egg together on the What the Funk podcast. So we'll start with Eric. Eric Zhang, why don't you give us a little bit of your background? Sebastian, we'll go to you next. I want to know who you guys are. Like, what brought you to where you're at today, up in Boston here? One of my favorite cities, and we'll talk about business and all that stuff. But Eric, you're a Texas kid, so let's go with you first.
Yeah, so I'm Eric. I'm the CFO and one of the co-founders of Amplified. I guess I have the most generic background for the most part. I grew up mostly in Houston, so in Sugar Land. Went to UT Austin, where I majored in accounting at McCombs. Didn't want to be an accountant, so ended up working as an investment banker at BAML in Houston, doing energy, power, some industrials coverage. So did that for about 3 years before moving up to Boston, starting at HarborVest as one of the first hires in their real assets team. So covering infrastructure, energy, anything kind of associated with real assets and natural resources. So a lot of structured deals, a lot of some secondaries, not a lot of primaries, some co-invest. So you get to go and get a good experience in terms of seeing the full landscape. So that was really interesting. I've actually known Seb for over 10 years now.
Wow.
I know him through the MIT sort of network. I have a cousin who's like the same age as me. We grew up together in Texas. We went to UT together, and after graduating, he went to MIT to get his master's and PhD. I went to go work in the investment bank. And so I think I met Seb probably his first year when they were in lab together. And I met him actually at ACL. So
nice.
was like, oh yeah, because we used to go to ACL like every year when we were in undergrad.
I can't claim that I remember the details of how we met.
I remember I saw you guys after you guys came back from Sixth Street because I had driven after work on Friday night to Austin, and you guys were pretty hungover the next morning, and you were like, no, we got to get ready now. And so I remember I told Seb oh, you can just drop a 5-hour energy in like a shiner and chug it, and he was like, that's so smart.
Yeah, he discovered 5 hours energy.
Yeah.
A true welcome to Texas moment.
You forgot the part where I introduced you to who became your future wife.
That's true.
No, really?
That's a different story. Yeah.
Okay, I guess I'll my background. So I was born and raised in France. I'm a mutt. My dad is from Tunisia. My mom is from the Basque region of France. So I was born there with a kind of mixed background. Typical science kid nerd background that you'd expect. Taking apart everything, building everything, destroying. Not putting back together everything. One of my big pride when I was a teenager, or end of high school, was ranked first in math, first in physics, first in biology, last in literature of the whole high school. The lowest grade of the whole high school in France. So you get the picture. So I went into engineering school in France, ended up focusing on quantum physics and applied math, and then I really wanted to go to the US. I got lucky as a kid to travel to the US for vacation, and I really liked it. So my dad is a doctor, and so he would stay working during the summer, and then with my mom and my sisters would fly to the US. And so I decided to apply to grad school. I ended up being accepted here at MIT. I mean, honestly, I picked MIT because besides being a very good school, obviously, they are very well located. It's in the heart of the city. And there's not that many schools that are like this. And I really wanted to have, a a good time, and Boston was an amazing place. So I signed up for a master's. I liked it. I signed up again for PhD. I liked it, and I signed up again to do a couple years of postdoc research. So I was doing aerospace stuff, and honestly, quite randomly, I ended up doing an internship with Schlumberger, which is not a company I knew. I mean, it's originally a French company with actually
Sure.
alumni from my French school, but I knew them, but I didn't really know them. And I was extremely impressed by how sophisticated and advanced the research done there was. They have a research center like right across from MIT. So I decided to work with them for a couple more years, and that really exposed me to the oil and gas industries. Gave me some ideas, and then I decided to start a company. So during my postdoc, basically, I started working on that, and here we are. So yeah, I met Eric through some common MIT, friends and contact, and been in touch since.
Yeah, I love it. I want to talk about France, and then I want to talk about MIT a little bit too. So I went to Europe for the first time this year. Actually, I have a client who's based in London, and went over there to kick off our engagement. That was super cool, really fun. I was there for like 5 days, and I was supposed to travel home the next morning, and I'm like, wait a second, like I've never been over here. It's a 2 hour and 15-minute channel train to Paris. I'm going to Paris. I gotta say, I guess there are London people and there are Paris people. Put me in the Paris people bucket, man. London, I found to be a little bit like New York, just like fast paced, a lot going on. Watch out, a car might like drive over your foot on those like small side streets. In Paris, it's like, I don't know, do people actually work there? They just like smoke cigarettes, drink wine and espresso, and eat croissants.
Mostly the latter, yeah, and then go wine by the river after work. But yeah,
on the Seine. Yeah, I love Paris. So anyways, for spring break this coming year, with the family, I married with 3 kids. We'll talk about your kids. You guys are knee deep in it right now, a little bit younger than me. But we're going to go to do the same trip. And from Denver, you can't fly nonstop to Paris. It's just impossible. So we're going to fly to London, spend a couple days, take the channel. But it's like pretty obvious to me that my kids, my family are way more excited about the Paris trip. There's like a more of a romantic like view of Paris, I think, with Americans than there is of London. So I'm excited for them to experience both.
I think the vibe in London is, for Americans, it's kind of like foggy and wet.
Yeah.
So I have to say, as any typical French person, right, you have to like shit talk on the British. Like you got to pick right? Last 1,000 years, and for rugby and all that, it's always fun. And I used to do a lot of this, and honestly, I actually really love London. I think London was a very fun place. I think Paris is the most beautiful city in the world, bar none, but London is a fun place to work in or travel to.
Yeah, I mean, like when I was at BAML and when I was at HarbourVest, like we both have pretty big London offices, but the offices are full of French people.
Yeah,
like it's I would say when I was at BAML, probably half the office was French. When I was at HarbourVest, it's probably more like 60-70%.
Wow. So the French people who work actually just go to London to work, and then they end up in a place like Boston.
Yes. Yeah.
Typically either London or Benelux, I think. Those are the two places.
Nice.
So, I mean, if you're a quant, though, you're going to be in Paris probably.
Or move to New York.
Or move to New York.
Yeah.
Classic career path for alumni from
from Central.
Yeah. I want to talk MIT a little bit too. So, Seb, I think we haven't talked a ton about this, but I think you're the son of a professor, something like that, like one of your parents.
No, my dad he's a surgeon. He's a
surgeon.
No, he's I mean, the full background of my family is my grandparents were very poor on both sides, and then my parents were kind of the first generation to be educated and have an amazing story, and so I went to do higher level education after. So yeah, they were in medicine. My dad was a doctor, and he really pushed me into science and engineering and not into being a doctor.
Well, the hell with you guys. I want Seb's parents to tell their story on this podcast. Eric, how about you? Were your folks in oil and gas? I mean, obviously you grew up in Houston, so it was all around you.
So my parents moved to the U.S. when my dad was like awarded some program to study abroad for grad school. So he did his PhD at University of Michigan. I was born in Ann Arbor, and my mom did her master's. I think she had a master's already in Chinese literature in China from one of the top universities there, which obviously would not be very valuable in the U.S. So she went back to school, got a master's in effectively like computer science. At the time, it would have been more like IT, I guess. So yeah. So my dad has been an electrical engineer for
So
his entire
you're
career.
second generation American. That's how you yeah.
Yes. So you see, my dad has never worked in oil and gas. He's done a little bit of like contract stuff around it in recent years.
Yeah.
He's worked for both my parents used to work for GM when we lived in Indiana and Michigan, and then when we moved to Texas, he worked at Texas Instruments. So he was there for a long time doing some special projects, some ADC stuff like semiconductor design, that kind of thing. But my mom has been she's worked mainly in two careers since then. So she's done some stuff with like medical research and like managing that kind of data. But a big chunk of her career was also working for companies like Enron. So she worked for Enron a long time. I think even after the downfall, she was one of the employees that stayed around to help with the infrastructure and everything. So I have a bunch of old like Enron merch. I have an Enron polo that's still like in the packaging somewhere.
Oh my God!
There's a photo of me and my sister with like Ken Lay from one of the Bring Your Kids to Work Day parties they used to have right after they actually opened the building where Chevron is now. So we actually So we were there last time in town, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember this place.
Yeah, it brings you back. What a crazy story Enron is. What a crazy time. I would guess that polo is worth something. I mean it's still in the packaging?
It's still in the packaging. I also have the one that's not in the packaging anymore. I have an old Enron snapback, but it's like flat bill.
Yeah.
It's a real throwback, yeah. It's real like early 2000s style.
Yeah, man. Oh, I love it. Interesting. So some of my story, right? And I think you guys know this. I went to Brandeis, which is in Waltham. So like Metro West, not far from Cambridge, right? We'd actually go into Cambridge and Harvard Square and all that stuff when we were in school. It was a great area, great energy. And obviously, Eric, you're just drawn to college towns. I mean, Austin, Ann Arbor, Boston, like you can't get enough.
Yeah.
Tick the box.
Yeah. But my dad actually grew up in New Brunswick, New Jersey. His family, they all went to Rutgers. His grandfather worked at my grandfather. His dad worked at Rutgers. My dad he's a lot smarter than me. He's like an incredible student, finished top of his class at Rutgers. In chemistry, he wanted to be a chemist, I think. Went to MIT to continue to pursue his post-grad degree. Lasted one semester and he's like, I can't do it. I just think that he wanted to get into psychology. So he ended up ultimately being a professor of psychology. So his MIT experience was like, oh man, I couldn't really find myself there. I was stuck in a lab. Like it wasn't for me. And then his path eventually led him to psychology. So there's like a little bit of a tie to MIT there, but just really the area is beautiful. You mentioned Boston. Is MIT grad school in Boston or is that in Cambridge?
It's Cambridge, technically. Actually, MIT used to be in Back Bay on Boston, and in the 1910s or 20, they moved across the river. So it's right on along the river edge.
I mean, MIT used to own pretty much all the real estate in Back Bay.
Yeah.
It's also because Back Bay back then also did not exist.
Yeah, it used to be So Boston is all landfill, so yeah, it was different.
The way to tell what parts of the city are actually like solid ground is pretty much where the towers are. So Boston has like what they call like a high spine towards kind of the center of the city down between Back Bay and South End. And so that's where the solid rock is. So that's pretty much where you can only build towers. And then on both sides, it's all filled.
That's funny. I saw something on Twitter yesterday where somebody posted like you can drive for 149 hours to go from one side of Russia to the other and still be in Russia. And somebody commented, same with Boston.
Yeah. Tell me about my commute. Yeah,
I mean, we used to be in Somerville, and both me and Seb live south of the city, and it would take me upward. The longest day, I think it took me 2 hours to get from our office in Somerville back to my place.
5 miles.
It's 8 miles. It's 5 miles as a crow flies. It's like 8.8 miles, and yeah, you're stuck in traffic for 2 hours just not moving. and it's even more of a slap in the face because you can see it tick down by like
Yeah.
a mile.
Right.
If you look at a Google Maps of Boston, you can see where the old part is, where the streets are just like someone was drunk or something. It's all like random. It's a nice
Yeah.
grid outside, and then the middle is like, what the hell happened there?
Somebody was definitely drunk. And the hardest thing about Boston, like I know my way around because it's like my home city, I guess, from growing up there and driving around there as a kid and in college and all that. But what people don't realize if they're going to use like Waze or Google Maps in the city is everything has like 6 names, right? So it's like, all right, take a left on I-28, Route 3A, old Route 126, old, and you're like, what? Like, just tell me where to go. You're just explaining me what this name, like a street can have 8 different names or whatever. It's like, well, this is 95 and 128. You're like, what? I don't understand.
It reminds me of like old cities in Europe. Like if you look at old Paris, old Prague, or whatever, they were built on purpose to be amazed in case of invasions, to confuse
Wow.
whatever army coming in the city. So I guess Boston was done like that. Maybe not on purpose, but
Yeah, I mean, like move-in weekend is probably the most dangerous weekend to be driving. Like
The worst.
If you're up in Cambridge, it is not uncommon to see box trucks driving the totally wrong way down like a 1-lane road. So it's great, and it's also like it's called getting store road. When,
Yes.
trucks.
they designed
how tall they are.
all the bridge to be 1 foot shorter than standard U-Haul
I
trucks.
know.
And everyone
happens,
gets tricked.
It happens at least once every week. Like if you look on like Twitter or like Reddit or whatever, there's a new post about it happening live. Like
There are accounts just for that.
yeah.
Like
It's
trucks getting storroed, right? You just can't. And then there's only so many like thoroughfares. So then you're just like, well, I'm screwed. Like I'm just going to sit here now. I can't get off. And no one's going to let you in either. That is one of the things that I like about driving around in Boston is it's like, I am going to cut you off and that's what's going to happen. You're like, all right, cool. Like there's at least no bones about it. You know what's going to happen. Like that level of aggression is insane.
If you're used to it, it's kind of fun. I'm not going to lie.
I mean, it makes it much easier to get around in cities when we have like rental cars.
Yeah.
If we're like running late to a meeting, it gives you the kind of training. But yeah, I mean, it's not good for society. But it kind of is what it is.
It's not good for mental health per se, but yeah, no, it does. If you can drive there, you can drive anywhere. Where do you guys live and where's your office?
So we just moved our office. We technically have 2 offices right now. We have an old office in Somerville, so right halfway between MIT and Harvard. And then our new office is on the edge of Seaport, so much more downtown.
Yeah, by like the cruise terminal. It's walking distance.
By the old World War II Navy dock.
Yeah,
like the old dry dock.
I mean, the street is dry dock.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's also close to. It's like right down the street from Harpoon.
Maybe we picked the office because we're between 2 breries. Maybe it's coincidence.
It's a plus for sure. Except we don't really get to use them anymore because kids.
Yeah.
Because of kids. Yeah. So talk about your kids. You guys are both like new dads, young dads. Eric, I think you might have to leave this podcast at some point if your wife goes into labor. And Seb, you got some babies, right?
To the doctors this morning. So
she's 39 weeks?
I think it's like 37 and a half.
37,
like
okay,
that.
almost 38.
Yeah. So good happen any moment. But everything is looking good. So I have a 3-year-old. He just turned 3 on Monday. And then we have another one due probably end of this month. So that's going to be
or end of this week, who knows?
Yeah.
I mean,
and Jeremy, you were asking where I live. Well, I had to move last year when we learned that my wife was pregnant with twins, and I was living in a top floor apartment, no elevator, like old school brownstone with tiny staircase. So we're like, oh shoot, we need a house. So I just got a very old house in Milton, which is just 25 minutes south of Boston. So I moved there, and I have 2 little. They just turned recently 1-year-old, 2 little twin boys.
Oh, beautiful.
So it's fun. 2 little tornadoes. But yeah.
Wow, that's exciting. Yeah, you guys are right in the heart of it. And I've said this to plenty of young parents. My kids are 14, 12, and almost 7. The craziest time truly is when you have like 1-year-olds and 3-year-olds. Like you guys are in it. It gets easier. You'll sleep more. I'm sure your wives are amazing. But just know it's not going to be like this forever. So try to enjoy it despite the lack of sleep.
I sometimes it's fun. Like last weekend, it was a little cold. I started a fire in the fireplace, and you have like big flames and red hot embers, and the reflex of the 1-year-old boy is to try to crawl straight in the flame. I thought it
Like
was primal, fire response. I guess it's really not.
You got to learn somehow.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's amazing. So let's talk a little bit about Amplified Industries. Like, where did the idea come from? I know it kind of spun out of MIT, and I think that's where you got some of your initial funding. But I'll open it up to both of you. You're like, what was the original thesis? Talk about the company a little bit and where you guys are going with it.
So there's quite a few concept behind it, but to put it simply, I traveled during my research work to quite a few oil fields, especially in southern Oklahoma. And so my background was in aerospace. So I visited, rocket engine factories, airliner jet engine factories. I've seen like all kinds of high end manufacturing. And I went to oil field, and it was very rustic, land based oil field. And I was basically surprised a little bit that equipment that is making that much money, that is that important for society, was at the end of the day not operated to some of the standards that you can find in other places. So I think some part of the oil industry are extremely high tech. I mentioned before when I was working with Schlumberger, and offshore, and there's quite a few things are really rocket science level, but other parts are still different, and so there's quite a few explanations for this. But we decided to tackle this problem and to help people really modernize all the digital infrastructure on their field. The kind of high level view is autopilot for your oil field. Um, there's another angle behind, which is industrial automation. Think about the big machines built by the Siemens, Emerson, Rockwell, Honeywell, Mitsubishi, or in oil and gas more the Halliburton and of the world. There are very often very complicated to use. Like any industrial piece of equipment has to be installed by an expert, maintained by an expert. You have nice 600-page PDF manuals to do whatever. And the reality,
600-page one is a short one.
Yeah, there were several. Like, and the reality is not everything is that complicated. Some of those processes are pretty simple. Some things are complicated, but not everything is. And on the other hand, you have the phone in your pocket that no one has ever opened a manual to use, right? It's designed to be very intuitive. You're doing way more things on it. Way more things are happening on your phone again than most industrial facilities. So I think a lot of the industrial equipment was never really designed to be easy to use. It was designed kind of by engineers for engineers, and let's cram as many features as we can. The cliche example I give is, in my old apartment, I had a Mitsubishi AC, and you have those remotes with 54 buttons.
Yeah.
And now everyone has a Nest thermostat, which has 0, right? And it works even better.
Technically, has one button.
Yeah, one. So I think a lot of the same mindset can help industrial facilities in general, because what ends up happening is people will use the equipment much better. They'll end up using a lot more features, and then you can start to do, really use all those buzzwords, the AI kind of thing, the Industry 4.0, digital twin, all that. All those things are buzzwords until, if the infrastructure isn't ready, if the people aren't using the system correctly, you can do kind of this final tier. So we started a company to easily automate all kinds of industrial machines, focusing on oil fields to begin with, and then build our equipment and our software to help people run their fields and do better than what's out there.
When did you guys officially launch the company? Was it named Amplified Industries out of the gate? Talk a little bit about that, because I think you mentioned 2020 a few times, which is just a completely insane time to start a business. But give me a little bit of the history.
So technically it was incorporated in 2019, but because quite a few of us were foreigners, it took us effectively a year to figure out our visa situation. There's all kind of fun backstory. A lot of our visas, several of our guys' visas were denied at first at the U.S. Embassy in Paris. And it's a whole other debate about immigration. But when you have a MIT PhD mathematicians starting a company in the US. Is it really in US best interest to deny that visa? But anyway, we eventually managed to go through. And so we really started in 2020 when the team was together, when we had the core guys, and when we had raised money from, so not directly from MIT. Basically, our first investors were MIT alumni, angel investors, and then early funds that we had encountered.
So like winning the MIT 100K was definitely like a good kickstart.
We won like the annual MIT competition, which gave us a lot of visibility and was very unexpected, to be honest, even for us, because there are not that many, at the end of the day, oil and gas plays happening, on the East Coast and in Boston. And so being able to convince everyone that this was great was a very good, boost.
Yeah. I mean, and of course that leads into the natural question of like, what is it like running a pretty fast growing oil and gas tech company out of Boston? I know you guys are on the road a lot, but like when you go to parties, super liberal area, I think oil and gas is vilified a little bit out there for whatever reason. It's like the water's been poisoned. Like, what do you tell people when you go to parties that you guys do? And how do you manage a company from there? Are you just on airplanes all the time? Like, how do you do it?
So the first part regarding the image of oil and gas in Boston or in general, in a lot of coastal states, I think Boston is a little different, especially compared to California, for example. Is yes, you have a lot of people who will, vilify oil and gas, but I think it's a more conservative city in a way, and you also have a lot of more, old school pragmatic people that can kind of cut through the BS that you read on everyday media and be like, no, it's here to stay. It's going to grow. There's a need to improve all those things. And no, we're not going to all switch to solar tomorrow by magic, right? So I think a lot of the smarter investors, smarter engineers, they really got it in Boston. Like maybe not, if you do a quick pitch or a quick presentation in some party, maybe not everyone will agree with this, right? The second angle is one of the key advantage of our solution is we eliminate almost all the spills. So there's a big environmental angle here. So that resonates with people here maybe a little more than, hey, we can increase your production.
So it kind of depends on what part of the city you're in. If you're in like JP, Gamberville, maybe there's nothing you can do really. But I would say our experience at MIT, like Harvard campus and stuff, people are very pragmatic about this kind of thing. And generally speaking, like the optimization angle of just saying like, hey, we're making things that are going to be running and they're going to run better is kind of a no-brainer. Like there's no real, there's no practical, I think, downside to a lot of what we do, right? I think when we conceive about like building a company, building a business, like taking it all the way back, the whole goal is to provide value for our customers and even the externalities around that. And I mean, at the end of the day, that is our goal. Like we're going to provide value out of what we do in excess of what we charge for, right?
And then regarding the location, so we thought about moving to Texas or to Midland, Oklahoma City, but the reality is we're flying all the times anyways. Like effectively every other week, we're going to Oklahoma City, to Midland, to Houston, to Denver, to Tulsa, to Wyoming, to Gillette, to LA. Like it kind of doesn't matter where you are. You're going to be flying a ton anyway. Yeah. And Boston had a lot of pros for us, so we need a lot of talent that is more common here than it is elsewhere. Like people who do cloud engineering, people who do data science, mathematicians. Like so, if we need sales and petroleum engineers, we hire those guys remotely. And because we started the company basically during COVID, well, kind of naturally, a big portion of our team is spread out across the US anyways.
Yep. One of the things I want to go back to, Seb, that you said is, well, we eliminate a lot of the spills. How do you do that?
So effectively what we're able is to see at very high resolution in real time everything going on the field. And once you see that, you're able to build all kinds of mathematical and physical model to detect things. So some things can be very basic, like, oh, this tank is overflowing. Other things is you can calculate flow rates in some pipe and realize that it's all going in the wrong pipe and overfilling tank, or you sending your oil in your water tank, or vice versa. We discovered that we could detect, honestly by luck, that hatches were left open on tanks, and
Yeah.
methane VOCs were evaporating. We didn't actually build a sensor; just we were recording such like high quality data that we're like, oh, now we can build a model that detects this. So there was a lot of kind of the bigger idea of what we're doing is we spend most of our time building unsexy things around how do you do a very large amount of data to a cloud that the customer doesn't really care about that part. But the thing they have to realize is once you've done that correctly, building all kinds of applications for this is much, much easier and much faster. And so now we reach that point, and it's just about rolling out new features, new application, and that can happen very, very quickly.
I mean, even just on the data collection side, like we spent a lot of time making the system not only really iterating and trying to make it as easy as possible to install and set up and maintain, but also like making sure the measurements that we're actually collecting are high fidelity, high accuracy, calibrated. Like we've tested hundreds of different sensors for all kinds of our devices. It's I think making something that works 80-85% of the time is like pretty quick, but that last 15% is really what takes. Building a high efficacy system is just
devil is in the detail.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of field testing, a lot of.
To that point, we started on what I would call the worst field. We started in like northern Louisiana in like swamps, water flood, small wells.
We started in the real world.
Like but it's Midland is much nicer. The desert is lovely, but like the swampy Louisiana part, that would destroy any piece of electronic. The mosquito would vampire all our blood off. That was like very tough operating condition. And so we started there and kind of iterated on all our hardware early on there to get something that was reliable.
But it's a really good way to, I mean, these are really, really old fields. Some of these wells are probably over 100 years old at this point. Still producing.
I think our oldest well was 1917, something like that.
Yeah. Nice.
We've been on some yards where the equipment is still made of wood.
Yeah.
So
our newest well, I think, is from 22, and our oldest one is like 17. So there's over 100 years.
A big range. Yeah. But I mean, you get to see a situation in the field that is like real, right? You have a lot of unknowns with the equipment quality. Is this check valve actually working? You can probably hear that it's not. Yep. Flow lines are running all over. No one really knows where they are. And you have all these, the stuff that no one's really checking up on. And so to get a system that works in that kind of scenario where you kind of don't know anything and building all the kind of things you need to collect, I mean, that's a big learning process that you don't know until you go out there and do it. And I mean, we spend a lot of time doing that kind of stuff.
And that's the part that's very fun too. It's like we get to meet people from lease operators, pumpers in rural Louisiana to billionaire investors in tall towers in New York. Like we get the full spectrum of every possible people out there, and that's very fun.
Yeah, I bet it is. And my understanding, at least with Amplified, is there are some solutions that do similar things, but it really caters toward larger producing wells, comes with a very high dollar ticket value. And that sort of leaves a void for a lot of the wells. I mean, there's almost 4 million wells in the United States. You guys are able to optimize really sort of any oil well anywhere of any size and do so affordably. So was that like kind of part of the ethos is this doesn't need to be like this crazy expensive application that only caters toward massive producing wells. We can actually help optimize every well. Was that like part of the initial thesis, or did you guys just sort of realize, oh my God, there's a segment of this market that's completely ignored where companies aren't going to pay the money to do this and they'll just keep sending a lease operator out? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So like the way I think the first time we started talking about this is when I was a banker and on the private equity side, you do a lot of diligence. You go through all like different deals on both the buy side and the sell side, and you realize, oh man, all these companies are really, really bad at running PDP, and it's not really there's no really good explanation as to why. And this becomes even more evident when you go through like restructuring processes, because all of a sudden you have a ton of like 1,000% IRR projects you could have done but you just didn't do. And like the numbers they're talking about here are like huge. They're talking about like, the PDP is basically your lending base and you just kind of let it go to shit and it's not a great situation. And why didn't you run this correctly? And I would see this over and over and over and over again. And I would bitch to Seb about it. And Seb would be like, there's no way it's like this. And then I think he went to the field and he was like, oh no, it is.
It's definitely like this.
It is like, I mean, there are like, on the flip side, there are plenty of operators I think have a great reputation of running PDP who have made an immense amount of money, like the Merits and the Hillcorps of the world. Like, so there's a lot of money to be made here, and this is a real thing that you can really do. It's just that people just don't focus on it, and the scale of that kind of market is pretty big.
And the what you just said was a business decision. We decided to go after all the typically older wells, the smaller production, call it less than 50-ish barrels a day, because as a small startup, there's a team of a few guys, now there's 20 something of us, but it's very hard to sell a product to the Exxon of the world, right?
Yeah.
In terms of procurement, of legalities, of, even if they love what you're doing, just jumping through those hoops will be a very slow and tedious time frame. By going after those fields, we're going after private equity-backed company. It's a few guys in a room, it's PowerPoint, no bullshit, we'll like it, you start next week. Did I make more money? Did I reduce my spills? Yes, we scale it. It's like bang, bang, bang. And so you can scale your technology really well. And then at some point you reach a size that's significant enough where you can go after the big guys. So one part that you said that's not exact is to be, honest and arrogant, and I can because I'm French, but it's like we think the best system out there by far, but we didn't want to go head on at first on the new wells against the established guys. You have to prove that was the case, and on those smaller wells, and then slowly you climb up the ladder and you say, look at all the amazing stuff we're able to do with our system that other people can even dream about. So kind of one step at a time, and there's a process to it. And I think, especially in oil and gas, plenty of companies are not successful because they're trying to go right after the inception, the glittery, the big Saudi Aramco contract and so on. And then maybe even if you get that big contract, then they just control you at this point, right? You have one customer who's 90% of your revenue. You're a consulting shop. You're not a company.
That's a really important point in that, and I see this, right, because I've worked with companies based out of California or companies who have gone through Y Combinator, and they pitch to investors and say, yeah, I mean, if we just get one deal with Shell or Chevron or Exxon or whoever, like that'll make our company great. Right? That's really hard to do, and it's going to take you a long time. And I think one of the things I noticed with you guys in our early conversations is you're like, no, we can do business with them. We know it's going to take a long time. We by all means have the technology to do it. But we know that there are these private equity shops with lots of wells that are just not being optimized, that just have humans going out there with very little remote monitoring or sensoring or technology on these wells, and they're losing production. They're literally leaving money on the table, and that money really matters to those guys. So I think you make a really good point with that. What does doing business look like with you guys? Like, do you go into a company, you say, we've got this incredible solution that can optimize your production, that can increase your production, that can help your emissions footprint. Mm-hmm. Is it a pilot? Do they give you 20 wells, 30 wells, 50 wells? Like you run a month or 2 month long pilot, and then if they like it, they keep your equipment and roll you out?
Yeah, it's exactly that. We, give them a PowerPoint presentation, show them a few case study, a few, scientific slides, convince people to do a pilot. We ask for a couple dozen wells, just get some statistically relevant sample, right? Don't by all means go pick some really hard, really complicated wells, like plug flowing, deviated wells, whatever, gassy, whatever issue you have, pick some of those, but also pick more normal wells. And our pilot is typically 2 months, and we kind of do a before and after comparison. And then if you like it, you can scale it. We do not just the wells, we do all the tank facilities and kind of everything that ties to the well at the same time. So it's pretty simple, straightforward process. And it's very easy to, like, our install is super seamless. To give you an idea, one crew, one truck can do 10 to 15 wells a day for the install. Really like copy paste, very quick, light footprint.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big part of it is that I think with a lot of customers, like, we don't even really need to do that much convincing about what's been changed at the end of the pilot, because it's pretty self-evident. So a lot of it, I think a lot of issues with kind of what we found is that running any kind of remote asset is hard.
Yeah.
Running an oil and gas well is even more difficult because not only do you have a remote asset, you have a remote asset that's pulling something from thousands of feet below the ground. You just have layers upon layers of unknowns. And so, it just makes it that much more important and impactful. And so, like, I think we found a lot of, like Seb has mentioned, like private equity backed companies. I think that has really been a sweet spot because a lot of the teams who run those are quite sophisticated, but also they're younger and willing to try new stuff. And so we've had a lot of success with, the more technical a customer is, the more quickly I think they buy in just because they see the level and fidelity of data. It gives you a lot of confidence and it gives you a lot of additional stuff to play around with. Like there's a lot of savings that some of our more savvy customers have managed to achieve. That's really, beyond what our system is doing, but stuff that they can do with the data that they now have. Like a good example is like instead of having to pull a well when it stops pumping, they recognize it has this problem. Something happens that's idiosyncratic to this well, but instead of having to pull it, they can see it in the data, and so they can just treat it, and so that saves them like 10, 20 grand every 6 months.
And I think those companies as well, they just straight up have less people, right? So the leaning on technology has to be like a core part of how they do business. And you guys help. Maybe it's having less staff, but really it's making that staff more efficient, right? Like
there's a push on the industry, right? Overall, there are kids doing petroleum engineering as a major, right? And overall, there are more regulation, more things to do, right? And those two trends are, most likely not going to reverse. So there's just more need to make more things automatic.
Yeah, I mean, I think another big thing that we try to do is like, yes, we provide a lot of like high-end data, a lot of very high-resolution stuff, but at the end of the day, the goal is to make what we do and the results that you get out of it accessible across the entire organization.
Sure.
So, like, you don't have to be a petroleum engineer to use our system. Like, we do all the flagging and stuff for you. So you don't have to get into the weeds about everything.
So something important, people always say more data is better, and I frankly disagree. More data is just more expensive, right? Mm-hmm. And I need to hire more engineers and pay for more servers and whatnot. It's only better if you can automatically analyze all that. So yes, it's great to record a huge amount of data, but then you have to process it and you have to automatically control all the machinery to be optimal. And sure, you let the engineer override, obviously, whatever he wants, but you have to use it to actually reduce the amount of work for people. You can just giving them more information. They only need to hire more engineers to use it otherwise.
Sorry.
No, that just brings me back to like, I'm thinking, a dozen years ago when the concept of building a data warehouse was a little bit more fresh. It was kind of a novel concept. And I remember talking to some operators who were like, no, just bring in all the data. We're like, but why? Like some of this isn't going to help you. You're never going to put this on a Power BI dashboard or Spotfire or whatever. Like you're just going to end up incurring like massive costs or need to buy more servers because that's when people actually had like on-premise servers to put their data into. But like, think about like, what's the important data, right? What matters? What do you want to model? What do you want to analyze? What's actually going to make your business money versus like, we put all of our data in the warehouse. It's like, but now you're just paying more money for data you don't care about.
Yeah, the thing you bring is sometimes...
that is a business model that like AWS loves.
Yeah.
They do. Yeah.
Sometimes people don't know how much they're spending. Like even if we ask people today, okay, how much you spend on SCADA per well? They're like, well, I don't know. There's the maintenance of the equipment. Then there's all the license fee for all the software you're going to be using. Then there's all your in-house IT guys that service it. Like it's a bunch of it's death by 1,000 cuts, right? And when people actually all that up, they're like, oh, shoot, like this is actually extremely expensive to run.
There's been plenty of times where we'll ask someone, like this happened like one time when we first started. We were asking a CEO of a company, and his CFO was walking by, and he was like, "Hey, how much do we spend on this?" It's like, and they calculate it, and it ends up being like 3 or 4 times what we were charging like per asset. So we're like, okay, so now that you know that, does it sound expensive to you? So it's because it's just sort of a sort of administrative, like high level cost for I think a lot of companies, or they just something they just kind of roll into the LOE. It's just like one line item. It just it becomes quite opaque, which is why like Seb said, like a lot of times when we start on stuff, we say, okay, give us something that is either too low production to afford putting, a new controller, full SCADA, all that kind of stuff on, or give us stuff that's more difficult. Because then you really get an edge to get in the door. And then once you're kind of in, you will kind of see the fidelity of data you're getting, the quality of the performance, and everything like that. And we have with one customer where they have a bunch of controllers and SCADA, and what they ended up doing was, as those started to fail, they just started replacing all of them with our stuff over time.
Yeah,
Just
yeah, and
today it's more performant, and also turns out it's significantly cheaper.
the name of the game in oil and gas has been and will always be, I'll entertain this solution if you can do one of two things. If you can do both, then you've got the holy grail, and that's very clearly increase production, reduce LOE. So if you guys are on that track and doing those things, the sky's truly the limit. I want to pivot a little bit to some other fun, some lighter stuff. I got to ask, Eric, how do you survive in Boston with the barbecue that you have there coming from Texas?
I mean, so when I first moved here, my sister actually overnighted me a frozen brisket from Truth, which I think had just opened. So that was the first winter. I did buy a smoker last year.
That's why we fly a lot.
Yeah. So there is a pretty decent. I mean, it's not like decent by Texas standards, but it's not bad. Now's a chain of barbecue spots in Boston called Smoke Shop.
No, it is bad compared to anything.
No, compared to Houston, but compared to like other places we've been to, it's not so
just
bad.
Eat a lobster roll if you're here, and eat a barbecue.
There is the guy who runs that place is from, I think he's from Austin, and so when I first moved here, was two places where you could get like a Topo Chico and a Shiner. The only other place to get a Topo Chico was at that super bougie South End food truck market where they charge like $5 a bottle or something like that. Something obscene.
First class flights.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But there's supposed to be a really good place down the street from our office here that's in a park. I think the guy who runs that is also from Texas.
Yeah, it's
of course.
It's a place that all the reviews are like 2 to 3 stars, and all the reviews say that the food is really good, but the guy who runs it is really mean.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, it has to be good.
And if the guy's mean by Boston standards, like he's actually got to be really mean.
I mean, the Chinese restaurant thing. Like, I don't want to go to a Chinese restaurant that's 5 stars. Like that means it's not authentic.
Yeah,
like, totally.
In Houston, it's got to have like 3 stars. Everyone has to complain about how the service is terrible.
Oh, they kill the food in front of you.
Yeah. That's authenticity.
There's one place, God, the name is escaping me now. It's near Fenway Park, barbecue place. That is unbelievable. You know what I'm talking about?
Sweet Chicks.
Yes.
Yeah.
That place.
They do North Carolina, like pulled pork kind of stuff. Yeah. Sweet Chicks is pretty good.
Outstanding stuff. What are your favorite restaurants in Boston? If you had to give like your top couple, what do you guys think?
There's 2 for me. There's the best pizza place in the U.S. I think is in Boston. It's called Pico. Yeah, because you have to find Pico, Picco, with 2 C's in South End, because they make fresh dough, right? And it's hard, right? You got to wake up at 3 a.m. and all that to make fresh bread every day. And their pizza, and I'm French, I'm a little biased on the bread side, right?
They have the crust.
The crust is perfect, and buying good pepperoni and whatever is the easy part, but that's the best pizza. And then the second thing I discovered actually last year after being here over 10 years, but the fishing dock they will sell you literally fresh off the boat in Boston stuff there, which is very good, because the issue with seafood is if it's fished on a bigger boat, it's frozen on the boat. So by the time you reach the dock, it's already frozen food, versus if you get it from the small boats, you get the fresh food, and that's really tasty.
Technically, one of the reasons why they freeze it is also for safety.
Yeah, don't care. I want it to taste good.
To kill the bacteria. That's why actually when you buy fish at a sushi place and it's always flash frozen, make sure that there's no bacteria in it.
I'll take my chances.
Well, I'm also to buy literally raw beef, raw ground beef, and eat it on the drive home.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You guys are nuts.
For sure. Other places safe places like Road 34, I think is always good. The restaurant in Trillium at the new Trillium Tap House in Seaport is also good.
I love that brewery, man. That place is outstanding.
There's a couple of spots by me that I like. There's a new bakery place called Via Canuccia. It's very similar. Also, it's run by this Italian guy.
Yeah, you have all the Italian stuff
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Boston is what, half Irish, half Italian, basically,
Yeah.
right? Originally,
Yeah.
something like that.
The servers that there are really mean, but the baked goods are very good. Charles told me it's the best croissant he's had in Boston.
Well, that's saying something. Croissants, I'm sure Seb, you and Charles know croissants. And on the pizza thing, like it is
silent. It's croissant. You don't say the
Oh,
T.
sorry. Croissant.
Well, there's a whole thing about the pain au chocolat versus chocolatine thing also. It's big because Charles is from the north of France and Seb is from, I guess, southwest.
Mm.
They have different vocabulary for this kind of stuff.
The north south thing is a universal thing, right? It's not just the U.S.
Wow.
Every country has their Mason-Dixon line equivalent.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I with pizza, it's I think it's just you can make good pizza anywhere. Some people say it's the water in New York, whatever. I don't know if I totally believe that. I think it's just quality, right? You need the 00 flour, you need really fresh tomatoes, right? And you need like not cheap cheese. If you get that combination down, like you should nail it. But for whatever reason, like we just don't have it here. It's just not as good.
Very
It's
labor
frustrating.
intensive, right? It takes a huge amount of time to make bread properly, and most places you just buy your frozen dough and you're good to go.
It's cheap. It's cheap. You guys Red Sox fans?
I used to like Star and Pinks and
Yeah.
stuff when I lived in Houston.
Kind of. Where I enjoy going to Fenway a lot. I can't pretend that I follow exactly the team. I enjoy going there for beer and for the atmosphere. That's really fun. And when the Red Sox, when the team is winning, the whole city is on fire, which is extremely fun.
Totally.
There's always some team, like especially a couple years ago, Boston was winning at everything, and the Pats, the Red Sox, the Bruins, the Celtics, like they were good, and there was always like some prize depending on the season.
Right now, the Bruins and Celtics are kind of always good.
Yeah.
Red Sox are up and down. Patriots are rebuilding. I mean, it was the same thing though. I feel like Patriots might still be the biggest ticket in Boston. Like,
yeah,
it's so big in the U.S.
Football, man.
For sure.
People love football. That area was not a football area. The Patriots were like pretty pathetic. And then, Tom Brady and Belichick, it just changed everything. It became like the Patriots were the draw and were the team and a tough ticket. It doesn't have the romanticism per se of going to Fenway Park. That's just a special place. Like there's just this feeling of when you walk out of like the dungeon part of Fenway, right? Because like, on the inside, it's like, it's super old. It's 112 years old at this point. But that first time that you walk out, right, and see the stadium and see the Green Monster, all that, like it still kind of makes me feel like I was like 8 years old when I first did that.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of a magical place. One of my favorite ballparks, maybe not the most comfortable, but
for anyone that's visiting,
awesome.
The main advice I would give is you buy the cheapest tickets you can, and then you just go to the top floor. There's a bar that oversees the whole thing, and you just hang out there and watch the game from there. And that's like a very fun place.
It's definitely the most unique. It's like it's the oldest because even like when you go to TD and stuff, like it's very similar than going to any stadium.
Yeah, most new stadiums are all the same, right? They'll just copy paste.
Yeah, but even like where Fenway is, it's kind of in the heart of the city. They built so much stuff around it. Like there's
in the middle of all the bars.
Yeah, I mean like House of Blues and MGM are like right there now, like right across the street. There's a ton of bars. Even like where TD is, even though it's in the city, it's still like it's kind of dead after.
Like if you come to Boston,
Yeah.
you can rent a car. You can just walk from all those places.
Yeah, but I mean, you could spend like all your entire day around like Fenway, wandering around, and you could go to the museums before, and then get wasted, and then go to Fenway, and then go to the clubs after across the street.
Yeah, when the weather's good in Boston, it's probably the best city in the country. I've said that numerous times before. Final question for you guys: Where can people find you? Where can people find your company, website? Reach out to you, all that stuff.
I mean, just put our name on LinkedIn. Company website is amplify.industries.
There's no .com. It's just amplify.industries.
Yeah. How'd you get that? I've never seen a .industries before. It's the first one.
You can do anything now. You can type whatever and freeze it, and it's easier to remember. You can shoot us an email. My email is Sebastian@amplify.industry. Eric
Eric at Amplify.industries. Though for Seb, it's SEBASTIEN.
EN, not A. The French way, not the German or Spanish way.
I also made use Seb at Amplify.industries. That also works.
I love it. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on. The future is bright for Amplified based on everything I'm seeing. I think that you're hitting the nail right on the head. The market is coming to you guys. So appreciate you coming on, and I'll see you next time I'm up in Beanage.